I should have said this right at the beginning. There is no extra cost to use us as a travel agency. People come to us and we book through, say it was Disney, and then Disney pays us. It's the exact same price if someone went and booked directly with Disney. So Disney loses a little bit of money when people book with us, but they realize that it's worth it to Disney to invest in travel agencies and whatnot, because they know that we're going to give our clients a really good experience, and we help Disney. And so they pay us. Once we realized that we're not in competition with each other, we all grew. We all grew from it. So that is the philosophy that I try to keep going. A rising tide lifts all boats, and try to stick to that as much as I can. Antarctica is like your best day in Alaska every single day. And it's not easy to get there. And I don't know if you've heard of the Drake Passage. So the Drake Passage is a big barrier for some people, and they call it the Drake Lake or the Drake Shake, and you may get the Drake Lake, you may get the Drake Shake, you never know until you get there. And we had the Drake Lake going across, and then coming back we had the Drake Shake, and I was in bed for about 36 hours. If I do get seasick, I lay down, and I might lay down, I'm fine, but I can't really get up. And so I slept for about 36 hours, and I still would go back to Antarctica in a heartbeat.
Welcome back to the COS Business Podcast, #1 podcast in Colorado Springs.
Today, our highlighted sponsor is none other than the place we're sitting here recording, Exponential Impact. Check them out at exponentialimpact.com, I believe, right?
Yep, that's the one. And today we have a very special guest, actually a former sponsor of our show. Thank you so much, Tammy, for coming on the show.
Sure.
Storybook Destinations, is it Wayfinder Destinations as well?
That's right.
Thank you so much for coming on and telling us more about your story. We're so excited to dive in. We did some research on you. I know there's a book that we'll be introducing on the show as well, so we're super excited about that. But first and foremost, how you doing? So how's everything going so far with your business so far this year?
It's good. It's really good. Yeah. Travel's rebounded after, a couple of rough years there back that we shouldn't mention probably. But yeah, it's really rebounding. A lot of people want to get out these days, and, we've learned not to put things off. So travel business is good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the name says in itself, right? Storybook Destinations, Wayfinder Destinations. Talk to us about your story, how you got started. And I know there's some cool things in there as far as like some military pieces to your story as well. But start from the beginning. What got you into Storybook Destinations? Yeah.
So I am a military spouse, as you referenced. And so, we move every year or two. We move a lot. And looking for something to do, I actually have a degree in computer science. And that was hard to move jobs in computer science. And so kind of looking at something that it could travel with us. And I became an online travel agent. Many years ago, 20 years ago or so, 22 years ago.
Wow.
And it was a Disney-focused agency. And, Disney's always been a true love of mine. Disney cruises in particular, but Disney World, Disneyland, all of it. So I went to work for this travel agency, worked there for about 7 years. And then after a few years, I realized I want to go out on my own. And so I opened Storybook Destinations. I have 25 agents right now all over the world, all over the US, I should say. And so we've been in business. We opened 11 years ago. And it's a great business. It's an online business, so it travels with me as we move all over as I move all over with my husband.
I've always wanted to ask people this because I just find it, and it's usually more like my female friends and things of that nature, but like Disney, like what is the pull for you with Disney? And like Andrew's been doing, like I know he's been doing some like history research on Disney.
I've actually been studying Walt Disney.
Have you?
Yeah, so we could probably get into that as well. But like for you, like personally, like what is the draw to Disney? I mean, beyond just like the typical of like been great movies and things of that nature, really good things to follow in adolescence and whatnot. But tell us your story, why you love Disney.
For Disney, I think for a lot of us, there's a lot of nostalgia there. We grew up with the movies, with the characters. A lot of us grew up going to the theme parks, and same for me. We went on our honeymoon to Disney World many years ago. I've always loved going there. It's always been a really special place. When they opened the cruise line, I knew that I would also love that. Disney has a whole level of service that you can't get in a lot of places. They care, and it was all started by Walt Disney, as you say, and his love for imagination and, incredible experiences. And that's what Disney is to us, for sure.
Yeah, they have a whole thing around the experience. And you might know the author. I don't even know if you know, but you might know this author. His name's Randy. I don't remember his last name. I think it's Paulson. But he wrote The Last Lecture. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't.
It's a book about like an engineer. He was an Imagineer
Uh-huh.
at Disney. And he talks about the whole experience of working at Disney and like what sets him apart from like any other business, especially Disneyland and engineering a lot of the rides and experiences at Disney. And the whole book is centered around him having terminal cancer, and he's writing this last lecture
have heard
to his
this.
kids to kind
Yeah.
of remember him and his story and like what drove him through his life. And it ended up on Oprah. Like it was a huge
I
deal.
do remember that.
I
Yeah.
think I slightly remember what you're talking about.
Mhm.
Maybe a TED Talk or an Oprah. Or,
Yeah.
But he,
It really speaks to the level of talent that they bring, that Disney can get. You know, these Imagineers and the things that they
Mhm.
can do, and
Things that they're doing currently.
right, the things that they keep doing, the things that they dream of that we've never thought of ever. You know, and it really, it must be an amazing place to work for that many people to want to work there, and you know, like will start their legacy there. Mhm.
yeah, and for people who haven't been to Disneyland, Disney World, all the different Disney places, Disney cruises, which we'll get into as well. Tell them about that experience and like what really sets it apart than say like another amusement park that the U.S. has.
Yeah, it's a different. Now I love Six Flags, you know, just like the next person, but this is a whole different level of experience. It's not just walking in, going from one ride to the next. It's a whole story inside. It's everything is themed so intensely. You step into a ride and you really there's a whole story. That ride, that attraction, whatever it is based on a whole story that you experience from the beginning to the end of the attraction. The shows, the caring of the cast members. I mean, they really hit a home run with the people that they hire there, and the cast members. They care about the guests. They're not called customers, they're called guests, and they really make you feel at home. They make you feel wanted there, you know, no matter how little, or I always say on the cruise line especially, no matter how little or how much you've spent to get on there, whether you're in the most expensive room on board, the cheapest room on board, you're having the same experience.
That's awesome. And
Mhm.
talk about that experience. I mean, first and foremost, I've never done cruise. I don't know if you've been on a cruise before, man, but like I've definitely never have. But so
Yeah.
that'd be a very different experience for me. What sets it apart from just a normal cruise? I'm assuming all cruises are different, but by and large,
Yeah.
you know, you're out and you're traveling different places, seeing different things. But
Yeah.
what sets Disney cruises apart?
Yeah, I mean, I love cruises. I love many cruise lines. Disney, it is the quality of service that I mentioned before, and you don't feel you get on board. You're not nickel and dimed. You know, you've spent most of what you're going to spend, with some exceptions for sure. And you get on, and they just treat you so well. And you're walking down the hall to your stateroom, and there's someone fixing a panel on the wall, and they stop to say hello. You know, they don't have to say hello to you. You know, you're not going to give them a tip. They're not doing anything
Yeah.
for you in particular, but they care. They really care, and you feel like it. They care about you, and they care about the experience you're having with your family, the memories you're making with your family.
Oh man, that's awesome. And
Mhm.
talk about like building this business, because it sounds like you had experience before travel agent, like,
Yeah.
and probably right when like online travel agents was probably becoming more of a thing. I'm assuming,
True.
right? 20
It's
something
true.
years ago. The internet
Yeah.
wasn't very old back then. Talk about some of those experiences when you worked in the workforce, and then like when you're able to get some of those skill sets to open up your own business, like what
Mhm.
hurdles you're running into after that as well, because I'm sure that transition period can be pretty tough sometimes as well.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it's scary to go out on your own for sure. After being comfortable doing something for so many years, and feeling like I was getting really good at it, and then to think, I'd like to do things my own way, and hire some people to do it with me. And so it was scary at first, but it went, took a year or so to get off the ground really. And but it I am so thankful that we did. There's not one regret that we did that, and have been able to grow over time and find other people that love to do this as much as I do. And uh, yeah, it's been a great experience. Mhm.
Would you describe yourself more like A-type personality, or how would you describe your personality versus like someone else typically?
I am very organized, very get things done. I don't want to say bossy. Bossy sounds like a bad word, but maybe a little bit of bossy. My husband's in the military. He's a little bit bossy, at times. So leader, bossy, there's a fine line. But yeah. But I do like to do things a certain way, and I want to make sure that the people that work for me do things a certain way as well.
Was that the pull for you to kind of go on your own? Is like you saw
was.
certain things, certain opportunities that maybe that weren't, being
Yeah.
taken, and you just feel like, man, there's an opportunity here. If I only had the reins, I can, make things stir the right way. I feel like at least to grow the business how I want to.
Absolutely. That's absolutely it. Yeah. No hard feelings, towards the place that I used to work. I learned a lot there. It's where I started. But I did learn, I did realize at some point that I wanted to do things a different way and in my own way. And I knew I could grow a big team and a good team that would take care of people in the way that I wanted to take care of our clients.
We'd like to take a quick break and thank our sponsors.
Bolt & Co. Executive Coaching.
Up feels better than stuck. You know that. But in this market, how do you get unstuck and get ahead as an executive?
Our guy JB is an executive coach at Bolt & Co. Coaching, where he believes you don't have to change who you are. You just need an injection of effectiveness and a proven competitive edge roadmap for your way up. Head to boltandco.net. That's boltandco.net. ProLift Garage Doors. ProLift Garage Doors are your locally owned and operated residential and commercial garage door experts. From fast repairs and smooth replacements to routine tune-ups, they keep your doors running like new.
Go with the pros at ProLift Garage Doors.
Visit proliftdoors.com to learn more. Be Our Guest Getaways. Be Our Guest Getaways specializes in Disney cruise resort and theme park vacations.
Planning a Disney vacation can be stressful. Let Be Our Guest Getaways provide you with concierge-level service for free.
Learn more at beourguestgetaways.com. That's beourguestgetaways.com.
Planet Duct. Planet Duct is the #1 choice for professional air duct cleaning in Colorado Springs and Southern Colorado. With state-of-the-art equipment and top-tier service, they make sure the air in your home or business is clean and allergen-free. Breathe easier with Planet Duct. Learn more at planetduct.com.
Awesome Home Services. Awesome Home Services delivers top-notch HVAC solutions for your home. Whether you need heating, cooling, or system maintenance, they ensure your comfort year-round. Visit awesomeservice.com for your HVAC needs. That's awesomeservice.com.
Mike Schoening Legal Shield.
So you're out here living your best life and suddenly legal drama slides in your DMs. Major L, right?
Bruh, hard pass. That's why you need Legal Shield. They're like the GOAT of legal protection.
Business contracts covered. Traffic tickets, no sweat. 3M legal emergency, they're up like, say less.
Hit up the link and get Legal Shield now.
Protect your energy, secure the bag, and stay drama-free, period.
Visit mscheoen.legalshieldassociate.com.
Proud American Electrical and Solar.
Give Proud American Electrical and Solar a call today for all your electrical and solar needs. They are locally owned and operated business right here in Colorado Springs. If you're looking for information on solar, this is the company you will want to call. Check out their website at proudamericansolar.com. Use promo code COS Business for a 5% discount today.
Pinnacle Advanced Primary Care.
Pinnacle Advanced Primary Care offers affordable, accessible healthcare with a focus on you. They provide exceptional primary care without the hassle of insurance barriers. Experience a patient-centered approach. Learn more at pinnacleapc.com.
And now let's get back to the show.
How does one, especially 11 years ago, go out on their own and like, I don't know if you have experience building websites. I mean, especially one that's tailored towards trips. Talk to us about those moments of like, okay, like, I'm trying to start this thing up. Do I have to have like other vendors and strategic partners to kind of plug into for these trips? Talk about the formation of your business, because we haven't had any other travel agent, I don't believe, on this show before. So it's super interesting for us to kind of learn more about that.
So most travel agencies, not all, most are online these days. There are still a few brick and mortar agencies, but I knew I wanted to do an online agency. And so yes, the benchmark of your agency is your website. That's where people are going to find you. Social media as well now, even more. But your website, you've got to start with. And I do have a degree in computer science. Unfortunately, it's a bit old when I started it, and it was not in HTML and website design. I wish so much that it was, but it did make me a little more comfortable with it. So I hired someone to. I actually hired from a website. Oh, I forget what it's called. There's a website out there that has freelance designers and whatnot on it. And
Upwork, maybe?
It was. That's it exactly. And went on there and said, hey, I want to build a new website. I don't want it to look like every other website out there. This is my idea. But I want to have control over it once you're done. I don't want to have to go back to a designer every time and say, hey, can you update this agent? I have a new agent here. I wanted to be able to do it. And I knew I could do that on the back end of it. And so I hired somebody to build the website. And I have gone back to that website a couple of times. And when I wanted to make huge changes, really big things to the website, and they would do it for me. So we built the website, we got it all set up the way we wanted, and then we started building relationships with the suppliers, Disney, Sandals, Royal Caribbean, all the different suppliers out there, and all the ones that we wanted to work with and that we trusted. And you start building relationships with them and growing that.
What does that look like? How do you go about building those kinds of relationships?
Once you register with them first is your first step. once you start selling with them, they will. If you start selling a decent amount, they'll reach out to you, and we'll have a particular contact in each of these companies. And now we have a particular contact with all the companies we work with frequently. But they have contacts all over the country that will, like, maybe they'll have one in Colorado that's in charge of Colorado and Wyoming, say. And so you can look it up once you're registered with them. You can get in contact with them and say, who is my rep, and start building a relationship with that person. So it's really nice if one of our clients ever had a problem in destination somewhere, and we couldn't solve it on our own, then that's who we reach out to. Like, hey, we need help. Can you help us with this person? They're having this difficulty they're at the hotel right now and they're having this difficulty. Can you help us? And that's the person that we go to. So it's very helpful to build those relationships with them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then so like when you have these packages, and I haven't looked too much into like specific like Disney cruise packages, like what kind of packages are you offering people? Is there like a family package that has a different array of different things versus like say there's like a very specific narrowed down like princess package, because Disney's a lot about Disney princesses. Is there different types of niches that you go into as well? Yeah,
there's a lot of that's part of getting to know your customer, and you get to know your client. What do they want? What do their children want? If it's a family, what kind of experiences appeal to them? You start. What was your favorite thing on your last vacation that you took? Their most memorable thing? What is the one thing you really want to do on this vacation? And you start building it up from there, and you really customize what your client wants. And I should have said this right at the beginning. There is no extra cost to use us as a travel agency. And how that works is we have clients that people come to us, and we book through, say it was Disney, and then Disney pays us. And it's the exact same price if someone went and booked directly with Disney. So Disney loses a little bit of money when people book with us, but they realize that it's worth it to Disney to invest in travel agencies and whatnot, because they know that we're going to give our clients a really good experience, and we help Disney. And so they pay us. So as long as someone comes and does all their does their booking through us, it doesn't cost them a dime extra.
So it's similar to like affiliate marketing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and we don't have I forgot what I was going to do with that. They come to us. They don't have to pay us any extra, but we're in their corner if something should go wrong, or just to use our expertise. And Disney's famous for free dining comes out, a big special of some kind, and the phone lines will back up for hours. But if you have a travel agent like us, we're the ones that's sitting on the phone for hours, making sure you get the special applied to your reservation. You're not the one sitting on phone on hold for 6 hours. Yeah.
So is that you guys then?
Yeah. Okay,
I was gonna say.
That's us.
Impressive. So how like someone loves the experience with you guys, and you said clients, I'm assuming a lot of the people who go with you probably stick with you, and that you can kind of build like a book of clients over the years. Talk to us about some of those experiences of people who may have chose you 11 years ago and maybe still with you, and they've done all these experiences. Talk about some of those clienteles for you as well.
They, people start. I get a lot of, our travel agency is still a thing because, you can do it online. It's a lot of it's very easy to do online. But where we really come in is our expertise. I mean, these are things that we've done before. And just using Disney as an example, things change so much, all the time there. And we keep on top of that. And, as a team, especially, we work together to, hey, did you guys see that this happened today? And, make sure your client knows this, and make sure if your client is traveling to the UK right now, they need a special visa. There's all these things that come up all the time, and we keep each other on top of that. And so once they realize the value that we bring to them and their family and their vacation, then they keep coming back and they tell their friends, which referrals are absolutely our biggest, form of growth, and are the thing that we want the most. And we love what we call Pied Pipers that get out there and don't just say I had a great vacation. They said I had a great vacation because Tammy at Storybook Destinations made it that way. And next time you go, you need to book through Tammy. That's the idea. That's the level of service that we want to bring. That the clients love us so much, they go and they don't just come back, they tell their friends.
That's the best, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, word of mouth for sure. For you personally, like what got you into Disney? Like what was your specific maybe film that you watched or something that you saw? Like what was the one that got you hooked with Disney?
That is a good question. I think it's probably going on our honeymoon, and just, I've lived in Florida when I was young as well, and we always enjoyed going. And so as I started to, over the years, plan we had children, and as I started to plan our own family trips more and more, and realized, hey, I kind of enjoy planning this. I enjoy planning the minutia of these details that not everybody cares about. I think I could do this for other people too. And I was a little hesitant to step in at the very, very beginning. I thought, oh, if somebody came back and just hated it, I would have just been crushed. And I was so worried about that. And turns out, people love going. It's not that no one ever has a bad experience of some kind there, but overall, people are very, very happy with their travel and things like that. And so it's been rewarding. It's fun to help other people plan their vacations, and those are happy things to help people with.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's funny because like I have an event organizer background, so there's certain things when I walk into an event or any type of experience like that I'm looking at, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they thought about this, or I see how their layout is, and it provides this experience. So for you as a travel planner, travel agent, like what specific things are you looking at that maybe, like for me, I don't know what I don't know if I'm booking a trip, right? That you can be like, oh, did you think about this, Marcus? Do you think? And I'm like, no, I didn't. Thank goodness I have you, Tammy, to think about those things for me.
Yeah, we have things that will happen at a certain time, and we've got reminders set for all of them, and usually we're sending our clients, an email of some kind like, hey, it's time to make your dining reservations, and you might not have thought of this, but it's 60 days out from your vacation now. We want to make your dining reservations. Here's our recommendations, things that we like, but also I know that, your children love, Woody. So here's a great restaurant at Hollywood Studios that your kids would love to eat at. So we make our reservations. We help them with those bookings. Also, if our clients want to do their own bookings for things like that, they certainly can, but we help as much as we can. We, remind them when final payment's coming up. We remind them when Disney now has lightning lanes where which are like front of the line passes that you have to book. And they're a little bit not overly complicated, but there's a little bit.
Is that like fast passes or just different?
It is like fast passes.
Okay,
it's
gotcha.
the new fast passes. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
And you book them in advance now. So that's one of those things that we know how to do. We do them all the time. And so we're a lot of help with when it comes time to do it.
Yeah, there's just something about Disney. And have you been to Disneyland or Disney World before?
I've actually never been.
Never.
Yeah. Have you?
I lived in California, so I went to Disneyland, quite a bit. And even there, like the famous Pirates of the Caribbean ride, my mom's like, you have to do this yet. Like my mom would always freak out. I'm like, what's the big deal? It's an experience. Like
it is.
I like the technology. Even back then when I went, it was like 25 years ago when I went on the Pirates of the Caribbean, the animatronics and like all the different things that they have set up with the water. And then they have like a restaurant inside there, so you can see people kind of going through it while you're eating food too. And it's just like, man, like even back then I was like, this is like state of the art insane. I could only imagine like Disney World. I know their rides are like state of the art. It's just like, it's one, you're immersed, and two, you're like kind of amazed by like the level of tech and like, again, Imagineers and what they're able to do. It's just like, man, I've never, it's not even just like a theme park at that point. It's like a whole nother experience, right?
Yeah. And Disney doesn't usually like the word theme park because it brings to mind a different connotation than, what it really is. And Disney just, one of their newest cruise ships started sailing. They've got several in the works, but their newest one started sailing in December, and it's the Disney Treasure. And there is a bar on board that's themed after the Haunted Mansion. And it is, you step inside there and you feel like, okay, I just, the ride just stopped and I got off and I walked into the attraction is how you feel. Your Doom Buggy, it's called your Doom Buggy on Haunted Mansion. I stepped off my Doom Buggy and I'm in the attraction right now. And you're sitting there, you drinking whatever you're drinking, and there's the ghost will appear in the mirror behind you. Suddenly something will open behind you. There's a fish tank in the middle of the room that have ghost fish swimming through. I don't know how they do it. The technology is amazing. But yeah, they don't go halfway.
This sounds really fun. Yeah.
It is.
What was it that's super famous? Isn't it the Avatar? Is it the Avatar ride that's like super
Flight of Passage? Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
It's one of the best rides there for sure. It's amazing. It's really, really neat technology.
And you're kind of like almost free hanging, right? Like on the ride, you're kind of like, is there like a screen in front of you? And you're it's. Have you seen the experience, like them showcase that?
I've not seen that one though. I've seen the Indiana Jones, or that's Universal, huh?
Indiana Jones, no, there is one at Disneyland. Disneyland.
That's the other one I went on. That's the one that blew my mind as a young kid because I was into Indiana Jones. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's good. It's a really good one.
Yeah. I don't know how. I mean, those Imagineers are just something else. It's like they source them like creme de la creme. It's like, hey, you either go to Area 51 Space Force or you go to Disneyland or Disney World.
Those are the options,
Because they're just like creme de la creme. It's just so unbelievable. And like with the cruises, I didn't know like you were talking about the bar there. That's so cool that they provide that. And like cruises always amaze me, like what they can actually do beyond just like sailing and eating and drinking and like tanning on the pool deck. It's so much more than
It's
just
so much
that.
more than that. It is.
So, like, talk to us about those experiences, because you were talking about the bar. Like,
Yeah.
unpack more of that stuff, because that's amazing that they can even do that.
Yeah, each of their ships has a slightly different theme, and even more so as time goes on. These newer ships that are coming out. There's one coming out in November called the Disney Destiny, and it's a heroes and villains theme. It's got a lot of Marvel characters in it.
Oh, cool.
There is a restaurant on board, the Dream and the Fantasy. That there are screens. It's called Animator's Palette, and there's screens throughout the restaurant. And at one point, there's 2 different shows in that restaurant. One of the shows, as they call it, Crush, the turtle from Finding Nemo. He will come. He will start swimming through the screens, and he will stop and he will talk to different people at different tables. And it takes guests a little bit to figure out. I don't think he's really talking to me until he says, "Hey, your black hat there. Hey, talk to me. How are you?" And then they realize, "Oh, the turtle is talking to me." That's a great show. Their other show,
cool.
You actually sit down and you draw a character, and it's easier than it sounds. They're, even for the non-talented artists, which, I'm definitely one.
Me too.
They give you a format that you draw a little character of some kind. You make it your own. You personalize it. And they collect them all, and you eat your dinner. And at the end of dinner, they put on an animated show where all of your characters are dancing in the show on the screens.
Oh, wow,
and
that's cool.
It's really, really neat. Yeah, it's really neat. Some of the things they do on board are just so fun.
That's wild. I think Andrew needs to go work over there, because that's exactly down his alley for
That's
sure.
exciting. I mean, I now want to do. I haven't thought about a vacation, I don't think, ever in my life. So now I'm like,
You need a vacation.
yeah, exactly. Thinking about it. Yeah, this sounds exciting. I totally forgot about how interactive these experiences could be, and just because I've never had them really. I mean, we had Worlds of Fun in Kansas City, which is, I don't know if you've heard of Worlds of Fun. It's a pretty massive theme park for the whole like Midwest, outside of like Six Flags and stuff. But it's got different like continents inside of it. So it's got Africa over here, and it's got like all the different kind of parts. That's why it's called Worlds of Fun. It's even got Oceans of Fun next to it. So
Okay.
it has really experiential rides, but it seems like Disney like goes way even beyond what they had.
They do. They do.
Yeah.
And a cruise at its basic level is a someone that will take you to different ports. You in Europe, let's say you unpack once, it's wonderful, and then you go to sleep at night and you wake up in a different port. And so that's just, even if there was nothing else, that's a wonderful way to travel. Someone's giving you all of your food, and they're taking you wherever you need to go. You don't have to worry about trains in Europe. Am I on the right train? Am I gonna, am I gonna miss something? It's taking you everywhere you need to go. But then you take that basic vacation and then plus it up with just an incredible experience on board too, that sometimes there's some points you're like, I'd rather just stay on the ship and experience all of this than get off at times, especially if you've been somewhere multiple times. That may happen. So yeah, it's a great vacation.
And it says right here that you've been on over 70 trips.
I have been on about 80 something cruises. I've been on 66 Disney cruises, I think 65.
Oh my God.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
So it's like an agency that's like for travelers by travelers.
That's right. That's right. We don't sit at home and book trips. We travel so we will know what to prepare our clients for. I mean, I say this like it's not selfish at all. I also love doing it.
For sure, yeah.
So,
But I mean, it's good to know that your travel agent has gone through the steps that
yes.
that you're going to go through, or maybe something similar to that.
Yeah, and cruises are a little intimidating if you've never done it before. You really don't know what to expect at all. And so that's where we've had a lot of our clients start with us for cruising, because they're like, okay, they've done it before, they know what they're doing, and they can answer a zillion questions, and we absolutely can. And so that's where it starts, and then they realize the benefit of using us. And
What about I guess people's biggest fear about going on a cruise, rough waters?
Yeah.
I know it's a big ship, but
Yeah.
how often is that felt? Is it felt every time?
yeah.
What is that experience like?
It is, I will say, seasickness medicine is very good if you are worried, but in general, it's very large, and so you don't usually, many cruises I've been on, you couldn't even tell we were moving. There are occasions where, especially if you're sailing during hurricane season, there are occasions when you will feel some rough water, but it's usually doesn't last very long. And I would say, I wish I could give an exact percentage, but most people don't have any problem with it.
Mhm.
And even though you may start out with some motion sickness, like I used to have motion sickness and whatnot in the car and things like that, and
Mhm.
on maybe some small boats. But once I got on a ship, I was like, okay, it really is different than being on a little boat in going down the ocean, getting chopping on the waves. This ship's not bouncing over waves. You might get some rolling if the waves are really big, but it doesn't last for long. And the captain is very aware that people want calm water, and so they do whatever they can to get to calm water.
That's crazy. And then what kind of ports do you go through on a Disney cruise specifically? Like, you just said Europe specifically. Do you guys go to Europe? Do you guys go to the Caribbean, or just do all the above?
All over, yeah. The more ships they have, the more experiences, the more destinations they'll have. They're based in Florida. I mean, that's where they started, and they have a private island there and another private destination on another island in the Bahamas that they'll take you to. But they also will stop at other ports in the Caribbean and the Bahamas, and St. Thomas, Tortola, Grand Cayman, Cozumel, places like that. And then, but then they also have all these cruises in Europe. They'll go out of Galveston at times. They'll go out of New York City at times. They haven't done that in a little while, but I'm expecting that will come back at some point here soon. They're about to, in January, one of their ships is going to start sailing from Singapore. And so I'm super excited about that. Yeah.
Have you been there yet?
No, I'm going in January.
That's awesome.
It's starting in December, I should say. And I'm going to go in January. Yeah.
Are these like a week-long thing, like events?
They vary.
Okay.
They're as short as 3 nights, and then they will go up, especially if you're on a transatlantic or something. Those will be longer, 12, 13. But most of them are 3 to 7 is the average. But there are some much longer ones for sure.
But that would be exciting though, for like 2 weeks. Just know that you're going to be like,
it is. You can really
traveling.
unplug and relax. Yeah, that's right.
We're going to take a quick break to thank our sponsors.
Reveal Med Spa.
Look and feel your best at Reveal Med Spas. With personalized plans that deliver real results, radiant skin, restored confidence, and natural rejuvenation.
At Reveal Med Spa, we see you. More than just aesthetic and wellness treatments, we provide a safe, judgment-free space where you feel valued, heard, and supported.
Visit revealmedspas.com.
I think it is literally just that too. Just double check. Book your next session at revealmedspas.com. That's revealmedspas.com. Home Day.
Buying a home shouldn't be overwhelming. Home Day empowers you to save on your mortgage by putting you in control of the process. Lower your cost and take the next step towards home ownership with ease. Visit gethomeday.com today.
Fast Signs. From banners to vehicle wraps, Fast Signs delivers custom visual solutions to help your business stand out. Their team ensures your message is clear, bold, and effective. Get your signage needed handled at fastsigns.com. That's fastsigns.com. Epic Eyewear. Stylish, affordable, and designed for adventure, Epic Eyewear has the sunglass and eyewear you need to see life more clearly. From the mountains to the beach, protect your eyes with high-quality frames and lenses. Check out their collection at epiceyewear.com. And by the way, Andrew, we do have a special discount, COS BP 15, for 15% off, I believe. Cars Helping Charities.
Turn your unused cars into a meaningful contribution with Cars Helping Charities. They make it easy to donate your vehicle to support local causes. One of the local charities that we like to support on behalf of Cars Helping Charities, actually, and part of their sponsorship is Mattersville. And check them out too.
They're awesome. They are a tiny house community for veterans suffering with PTSD. They have a property out in Yoder, Colorado, and then they also have one in Sedalia, Colorado as well.
Donate today and make a difference. Visit carshelpingcharities.org. That's carshelpingcharities.org.
Dream Accounting Solutions.
Take the stress out of managing your books with Dream Accounting Solutions. They provide reliable expert accounting services tailored to small businesses. Simplify your finances at dreamaccountingsolutions.com. That's dreamaccountingsolutions.com.
Exponential Impact. Exponential Impact is driving innovation and entrepreneurial success in Colorado Springs. Supporting startups with mentorship, funding, and community resources, they help businesses grow and thrive. Learn more about their impact at exponentialimpact.com. That's exponentialimpact.com.
And now let's get back to the show.
For someone like you, who's more A-type, and I know for me and Andrew just references too, like he has a hard time going on vacations, or he maybe just never has had afforded the opportunity to go on like a real big vacation or something of that sort. Like for us who have a hard time unplugging, what does it do for someone like you who like we said was probably more A-type, who like feels like they have to have that work in front of them?
Yeah.
How does it work for you to unplug? Is it a necessity to unplug? Talk a little bit more about that too, as far as travel is concerned.
Yeah. So I really, I am a big believer that everyone needs to unplug at times, and I know my husband, especially in the military, there's times you've got to get away long enough that you can truly relax. And so I certainly don't unplug on every cruise because I can't, because I do too many of them. I travel too often. I couldn't run a business and do that. But I also make a point of actually, there are some very specific that this is a vacation and I'm going to unplug and someone else is going to check my email for me and watch. And they'll get a hold of me if they need something urgent, but otherwise I need to just relax for this amount of time and spend it with my family. And, but the nice thing about cruise ships these days is most of them have Starlink, and so it's very easy to, you pay a little bit for it, but it's very easy to stay connected as much as you want to, as well as much as you need to. Hopefully you don't need to very much, but as much as you need to, you definitely can.
What about the negative connotation that I've heard about cruises? The only negative connotation is that you might gain a little bit of weight while you're on there, because a lot of them are all inclusive. Is that a true thing?
That is true. Once you've done more, you start to get used to it. But at first, yes, you walk and there's food everywhere, and you think, oh my goodness, I have these chicken fingers. I don't know what they put in them, but I can't stop eating them. And there's so much food. There's so many options that it's the unlimited soft serve up on deck. It's hard to stop. But at some point you realize, okay, this is still going to be here tomorrow. This is still going to be here on my next cruise, and you can. So yes, it's definitely possible to gain weight, but they also have gyms on board. They have walking tracks. They have, take the stairs instead of the elevator. It's also, you don't have to gain weight on cruises, but sometimes you enjoy gaining weight on cruises.
So you said you live on the Space Force base, right?
Yes, we do.
And that just got me thinking about like these different cruises and kind of just, I'm a futurist in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I'm imagining like the future of what a travel agent could be, and, doing a lunar cruise. Like,
it's true. Going to space.
Yeah. Like some people are going to need travel agents for that too.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be amazing?
Yeah. So have you thought about that?
That could happen in our lifetime. You're right. It could.
Yeah. Have you thought much about that, as, just being so involved in space?
Yeah, I have not thought about that, but you're absolutely right. I think, and then we would have to go first.
Yeah, there you go.
To tell people what to expect. But yeah, you're absolutely right. That could happen.
For sure.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think it's, it's funny because like we do a lot of these interviews and a lot of these podcasts, and like this has gotten us to smile and laugh because we're talking about travel, and there's just something about travel that everybody can like get excited about, like new experiences and things like that. Like, it's probably pretty easy to sell like new experience for people, especially if they haven't done something like this. Like, what is it for us, like as humans, that like we yearn to explore new things and have new experiences? What is it about that?
That's a good question. I mean, I know there are some people that are very happy in their, not going anywhere and staying home. But boy, if you can get out there and see what the rest of the world has to offer and just broaden everything, your understanding of so much, and not just enjoyment, there's also educational opportunities out there, and showing your children the world, and how much bigger the world is than just our little community, and all of the opportunities out there and amazing things that people have done and built over the years.
What have you learned specifically? Because I know I tell Andrew all the time about my experience when I went to Italy and we went to Rome and we got to drive up Tuscany, and like I learned so much just from that week-long experience, not only like about the culture, but like about US culture and how like the US was trying to, like any of the US tourists were easy to point out there just because of like, they were impatient, or, they weren't well dressed. Like I'm a hat and polo or hat and t-shirt, kind of like Americans in Italy, like they were wearing the same stuff. And like the Italians definitely weren't dressed like that. So like what experiences, I guess, what have you learned from all these different travel experiences?
I enjoy learning about a culture when I visit it, and what to expect, and how to blend in, hopefully, and not be an obnoxious American. Simple things like some cultures, don't point, and we point all the time. And we're a trip to Japan, I realized how loud our group was compared to, everyone else on the subway. And I thought, okay, we need to, we are the loud Americans right now. Yes. So and you figure some things like that out pretty quickly, but it's also really helpful to read a little bit about it before you go, and to learn a little bit more about other people's cultures, and so you don't stand out too much.
Or ask your travel agent.
To tell you about it. Exactly.
Isn't that some of the funniest things, is like how Americans, like you were saying before, like they stick out like a sore thumb just because like we're loud, we point, like we're impatient. I was it's really a real thing. And then you realize like why sometimes they might get a little irritated with us because we almost are like, I don't know, I don't want to say self-entitled, but there's certain things that we're used to that we're trying to, press upon that culture, which is totally not cool, you know?
Yeah, boy, we really don't. That's my worst nightmare is to be, for anybody to say, oh, that obnoxious American, I want them to like Americans. I want them to, appreciate us coming and, not want to ban us from their country or anything else because we have been so over the top. So, yeah.
I think it's an important thing for a lot of travelers, at least from the US, should be told is like, hey, listen, you're going to have to embrace the culture. You're not in your country. You got to embrace, the experience. And there might be some things that might be a little inconvenient for you, whatever it is, no AC or
food that you're not used to.
Food taking longer or like, tables taking longer to eat and get your check. Like it's not, that's just how the cultures are. And it's just so interesting. Like I'm glad that someone told me to put that lens on before I went to Italy because then I would have been like, what's going on? But then, as long as you understand, like,
it's not their job to make us comfortable there.
Well, tell us about that book right there, because you have a book that is. Was it come out this year?
A book. This one came out in December. It's the 2025 edition. And
awesome. You want to hold it up for that camera?
Yes.
There you go. Yeah.
I'm working right now on the 2026 edition. It comes out a new one every year. The Unofficial Guide to Disney Cruise Line, and awesome. There's a few editions of this. There's Walt Disney World version, things like this. I do the cruise line version. And it's a helpful guide. It's full of everything you could want to know about cruising. Cruising Disney in particular. We mention other cruise lines in there as well, but it's basically Disney Cruise Line. And
is that a collaboration of other people helping you write that, or is that all you writing that book?
No. Lynn Testa and Aaron Foster are also, they've written it for years before I came on and started helming it. And so their words are throughout. And they were a huge help. They started this wonderful guide, and then I was able to take it over this year and start,
cool.
working on it and changing some things and, updating. Right now I'm deep in the midst of updates and edits for 2026. So
yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And then like it sounds like a lot of things in your business has been through collaborations. Typically, like a lot of entrepreneurs start off as like a solopreneur, and they kind of have to figure everything out themselves. Like, oh, website, I got to build my own website, or like, booking a trip. Okay, I got to figure out, like it sounds like you early on have been able to establish some really core strategic partners to help you kind of hone in the foundation of your business. Talk a little bit about that, because like I think that's a really good approach, and I feel like maybe in your industry it might be a little easier to do that, but it's also a very smart move to make right out of the get, so you don't feel again like alone or siloed in your business as well.
And I think travel agencies, especially, it's really easy for us to any commission-based business probably to want to feel like every other travel agency out there is competition. And once you realize that they're not, that there are more than enough people to go around and more than enough customers to go around, how much we can help each other grow and how much I learn from my friends that own agencies. And I have several, and we work together, and we'll help build resources for our agents to grow and to help their clients. And if somebody has a great idea, we share it with each other. And we hear news of some things coming up, we'll share it with each other. Once we realize that we're not in competition with each other, we all grew. We all grew from it. So that is the philosophy that I try to keep going. A rising tide lifts all boats, and try to stick to that as much as I can.
Is that the same methodology you've used for Wayfinder? Because I know you have another business, and let's kind of dive a little bit more into that as well. So what is Wayfinder Destinations? What makes it different than probably the obvious, like, versus Storybook Destinations as well? So
it's all under the Storybook umbrella. But at some point we realized, and we started off as a very Disney focused agency, but after a couple of years we realized, okay, we want to sell more than just Disney. There's a lot more to offer out there than just Disney. As much as we love Disney and Disney cruising, there's a lot more out there that we want to offer, and our clients want more than just one experience. And so we realized that Storybook to some people sounded like Disney, and that's all they thought of. And we had friends and clients that were saying, oh, I just booked a Royal Caribbean cruise, and we would say, you didn't book it with us. And they'd say, oh, I didn't know you could do that. Yeah. So after we'd heard that a few times, we realized, all right, we need another way to let people know that we do more than just Disney. And so that is Wayfinder Destinations. And I have some agents that specialize in non-Disney, and several that specialize in Disney, and some that specialize in non, and some that do both. And to help us grow our experience and our clients, all over the world, all different experiences.
That's cool. So you're talking about just like everything from like a typical cruise to like a Bahamas cruise or something like that. That's like you can do that and book that through.
That's right. We can book anything. We can book just about anything through us. So yeah.
Side question, but about the name Wayfinder, it's my favorite coffee shop. I actually live pretty close to it.
Oh yes, it's a good one.
You've been? I was gonna say, have you been there before?
I have been there. Yeah. I think we got it from Moana. When it's mentioned in Moana, and so
which is a Disney
movie. So there's the irony of it all, but we liked the way that sounded and what it meant, and so I laughed when I realized that Wayfinder, the coffee shop, was here too, and yeah, so like I said, it's more for an awareness thing, but it is it's all under the Storybook umbrella.
Was it harder? I mean, you already had done Storybook for quite some time before that, but was it harder to kind of venture out without that backing? I don't know if that's the right word, backing from Disney, but like without that strategic partner in there that was helping you along the way. Was it harder to jumpstart Wayfinder?
It was, and it also, just because we were so comfortable with Disney at that point, we knew all the ins and outs of how it worked, how we worked with them, and so it was harder to jump into something saying, okay, wait a second, I've never done this. How do I learn about Belize? I've never been to Belize, places like that. And so that one had it took us a little bit more longer to feel comfortable with it, to feel comfortable with destinations that we weren't as comfortable with, and to realize that we had other resources. If somebody comes to us and wants to go to Paris is a horrible example. I've been to Paris, but let's say they wanted to go to Paris and I'd never been there. I now know some resources, whether it's other agents in the company or some other companies that we work with, that can help us find the perfect thing to do in Paris for our clients. So we've learned those things over time, and that took a little bit longer.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense too. And then when we're talking about like bookings and group bookings and things like that, like say Andrew and I wanted to do a company trip and we wanted to do like maybe him and I on a +1 each or something somewhere else. Do you guys do bookings that small? Like everything from that small?
Oh yeah, we'll do everything from, one person traveling by themselves to we've done trips for 150 people,
And, oh my gosh.
So yeah, the group bookings are fun. And we try to, if it's a big group booking, we try to go because it's, it's helpful to have someone there on the ground, with all the questions that come up and everything else. So the people in the group feel like they have somebody that they can go talk to. And, we don't ever mind going on those things. But yeah, all sizes.
How does one like yourself, is there a certain amount of trips that you take every year to kind of keep up and just like make sure you're just kind of, maybe you haven't been on every single trip, but you're definitely familiar with the trips, right? Like, do you have to do like a certain amount of Disney trips and then a certain amount of like just like normal trips every year, just kind of keep yourself, I guess, up to speed with what's going on in every trip, what to look out for? Like, talk to us about that experience too.
So I encourage my agents to really make sure they're still traveling and make sure they, especially in the destinations that they are specializing in, that they are really getting out there and doing it. And if it's Disney, that they are going to Disney frequently. If it's cruising, they're going on cruises frequently. If it's Europe travel, that they're going to Europe. And so they're staying up to date with it, because there's some things you just don't know till you've experienced it. And so it's so helpful for them to keep going. I'm more Disney Cruise Line focused right now just because of the book. But I also try to branch out as much as I can. I'm doing a river cruise in Paris this summer. It's I did Antarctica last year, which was amazing.
What?
Yeah, and the Galapagos. Those are some of my more exotic destinations recently. Those are amazing places. Not Disney. Disney does do some of those things, but I didn't do those with Disney. So just and boy, it's been super helpful when people are asking, so should I go to Antarctica? And I can say yes, and this is why. And this is what it's like.
Yeah, tell us what it's like, because I'm kind of curious to know how going to Antarctica is like.
It is one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen in my life. And I've been to Alaska several times, and I always thought Alaska was incredible. And it is beautiful. But the Antarctica is like your best day in Alaska every single day. And it's not easy to get there. And I don't know if you've heard of the Drake Passage. The Drake Passage is a big barrier for some people, and they call it the Drake Lake or the Drake Shake. And you may get the Drake Lake, you may get the Drake Shake. You never know until you get there. And we had the Drake Lake going across, and then coming back, we had the Drake Shake. And I was in bed for about 36 hours. If I do get seasick, I lay down, and when I lay down, I'm fine, but I can't really get up. And so I slept for about 36 hours, and I still would go back to Antarctica in a heartbeat. It was still worth it. Still worth every bit of it. Now, there are some cruise lines that now offer flyover packages. And my husband was not with me on this trip. And he says, that's what I wanted. I want to do the flyover passage into Antarctica and not do the Drake Passage. But just the wildlife that we saw. I mean,
Really?
there's a lot of rules there. You can't, we stepped on land every day, which was amazing, onto the continent. That was the biggest goal. And, they kind of underprepare you at times. Like, we're hoping to see a few penguins, and you start to realize as your zodiac is approaching the continent that you're seeing thousands of things move, and they're all penguins,
Are you serious?
Oh yes, thousands of them. They're just incredible. Or you look out your window and you just see the penguins jumping out of the water and swimming right off your veranda there. And whales and sea lions, and just the amount of wildlife we saw was incredible. The glaciers are beautiful. Once you get onto land, there's a law in Antarctica that only 100 people can be on land at the same time. And so the size of your ship, the size of your group matters. And so we were on a very small ship. And so we got onto land twice a day. And they had a whole process where you wear their boots, and a whole process to wash your boots getting on and getting back off. And once you're on the continent, I'm a photographer as well. So I had my camera and everything, but you can't put a knee down to get a better picture. The only thing allowed to touch the continent were the soles of our boots. And so, I took a million pictures, but there were rules about how you could do it, and you couldn't stop and sit down on a rock to take. No, you can't touch anything. So they're really trying to lessen the impact of us being on the continent, but still being able to go.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I did not know all those existed. Did you?
I know that Antarctica, it's fascinating. It's like the only land on Earth where every country has signed a treaty to work together for it.
That's right.
It's
That's
kind
right.
of weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone did ask me once, who made the law that you can't have more than 100 people there since so many countries? And I thought, oh, well, that's a very good question.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's what they told us on the ship, so we believe them.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, it's an agreement that humanity has come together on.
That must be.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I was actually recently studying about space law, actually. So that's
really?
what it brought me to learning about Antarctica.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
You think it'd be similar to probably space, right?
Yeah. So like, if we wanted to colonize Mars, who owns Mars? It would probably be some kind of a treaty that starts with
similar.
first. And
Yeah.
there's actually loopholes where businesses can actually get around it, kind of like we do here on Earth in lots of ways. Like, because there's treaties with international waters, but businesses still can pop up on them, and they kind of own where they're at, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
That's
kind of
very
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a space nerd, actually.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah. I love all that stuff.
You said you're a photographer. What do you shoot with?
I have a Canon it's mirrorless now. It's the R5.
Okay,
R2.
nice. That's a good one.
Ooh,
Yeah.
yeah. That's what Andrew shoots with, Canon. So
I've been a Canon all my life. So yeah, it took me a while to change over to mirrorless, but once I did, it didn't save as much weight as I was hoping. I was hoping it would be
Really?
so much lighter, but
It is lighter, though.
it is lighter,
Yeah.
but a pound,
But when you have a really good lens,
it's the lenses.
yeah,
The
that
lenses
it really
weigh so
makes
much.
it.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
well, anybody that knows anything about cameras knows like the lenses are like the expensive
They are
part,
absolutely.
right?
The most
And
important
do you bring like the
Oh,
big
yeah.
lenses?
I bring them all.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool.
I do.
You gotta share some of those pictures with us.
Yeah.
We'll put them on this
Here.
episode as
Oh,
well.
they're there.
Here-
Nice.
here's one.
Oh, sweet, fantastic. Where is
Yeah.
that?
That is in Alaska.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty impressive though. Alaska, because I know like from friends who've been to Alaska, it's like you can have a green mountain, but it's also snow capped. It's very different than Colorado, right? We maybe
Yeah.
get that maybe a month out of the year where it's
Right.
snow capped and also green at the same time, which is super beautiful.
Yeah.
That's I mean
Yeah, we were very lucky. We had a clear day on this little boat off the cruise ship to get closer to the glacier. And my friends were laughing at me because I was taking pictures of the ship when the glacier was right. I took a lot of pictures of the glacier too, but the glacier's right here, and I'm taking pictures of the ship because I'm like, oh, it's beautiful, and look at this picture. So yeah.
that's awesome. And then like what about the glaciers like enamored you to be like, this is so beautiful, besides the fact that I mean it's just a massive glacier, but
It's
like
a massive thing. It's a moving thing, when it calves and it crashes into the water and you can feel it. It's the sound of it. It's amazing. And yeah. And
Wow.
in Antarctica, that was one of the things that we woke up and our ship was docked right next to a glacier. And we would just look out there, oh, it's calving again, and
Mhm.
just, they're just beautiful, really beautiful.
And calving is when it essentially loses a piece of it that falls into the water.
Sometimes a large piece, sometimes a little piece, but it starts kind of like an avalanche down the side of it, and it all crashes into the water, and you'll feel the wave hit your boat a little bit later. And yeah.
So was it even that safe to be that close to the glacier, do you think? Or okay.
With that size boats, yes. With that size ships, yeah.
That's crazy that you can get that close. I mean, of course, with a bigger boat, you could probably do some things that you can't do in a dinghy, of course.
That's right. That's right. There are some rules about how close you can get, and if there's wildlife, so many of the little icebergs floating around will end up with some kind of wildlife on them, and so there's a lot of rules about you can't get too close if there's wildlife, and but you feel really close still.
Is that one of your top experiences that you've ever had doing these trips? Is Antarctica?
It is. And people ask what my favorite trip is, and it's kind of Sophie's choice. It's hard to pick, but Antarctica, Galapagos, both of those were so unusual and so different than anything else that
Galapagos, talk about that.
I've always wanted to go there.
The Galapagos is really neat too. Yeah. The Galapagos, I really think a cruise ship is the way to do it. I mean, it just takes you to so many different places in the Galapagos, and there are rules in the Galapagos. The ship can't be over 100 people. So those are very small ships, and it's the same as Antarctica, and that the ship does not pull up to land. You board Zodiacs on the back of the ship, and the Zodiacs take you onto land, and that was just the wildlife experience in the Galapagos was really, really neat too. And you're walking on places where no one lives. We didn't see civilization for the first probably 6 days that we were there. It was just our ship and our Zodiacs, and that was it. And all of the animals that we saw.
Dang, it's crazy. Well, it's interesting because I mean you've had this business for over a decade at this point.
Yeah.
And we had a certain pandemic that hit. And kind of in the middle of that. Now we're kind of getting into that was in the middle of
well, that's weird to think.
of your business, how long your business has been around. How have the effects of that been on your business specifically?
We learned a lot. I mean, we definitely learned a lot from it. We learned, well, as I mentioned before, as consumers, we learned not to put things off. Don't put off those bucket list trips. And that was one of the reasons we went to the Galapagos. That was a big bucket list item for my husband. And we were debating what should we do. And I realized, we should do this. While we know we can, we should do this. But as for a business, we realized that we can't count on any of these commissions that we haven't been paid yet, things like that. We can't count on people traveling. And, when the whole travel world just shut down there for so long, it was obviously very difficult. And we had a lot of suppliers that handled it so well in a completely unknown time where, I remember at the beginning, I mean, we all were in different ways thinking, well, at least we've got the summer travel coming up. And, of course, we didn't have any summer travel coming up. We didn't know that cruising wasn't going to happen for about 18 months. And that was over 50% of our business. And
then still even slowly after.
And still slowly after. That's right. Yeah. And when it came back, it came back so slowly with so few people doing it. And, we learned who the suppliers were that handled it really well and who really didn't. And for instance, there were several suppliers, Disney was one of them, that said, okay, we realize how awful this is for y'all. And so for several of the trips that we already had booked and were expecting in the next few months, they still paid us our commissions, which we were so thankful for because we had no income coming in. And as far as the travel agency goes, and some of them, not just good to us, good to our clients. And, absolutely, we're going to give you full refunds for this. And then we had some, and I won't name them because I'm not, everybody made mistakes during that time, but we had some that, were not great to our clients and said, we'll give you 50% back or you're going to have to come, even that as travel was, sneaking back in, if somebody wasn't comfortable at the last minute, things like that, they weren't real compassionate about it. And so we learned some suppliers that are not our favorites anymore. And we learned who's really good, who we want to work with, and who's good for our clients, and who may not be so good in the future with unknown times that could come. So
it's funny how chaos reveals a lot of things about different, and even for someone like me on the other side of that, when I was doing my events, to, I guess, argue for the folks who weren't able to get full refunds. I actually, when I was doing my events I actually had spent that money to put the event on and then it never happened. And then I'm like, well, I'm so small. I can't afford to pay you all back because I've been spending it to put together this event that was supposed to happen. And it was just such a crazy time during that time of just like unknown / like a reset, because we all got to be at home and not worry about the hamster wheel of life because somehow life stood still. It was just such an interesting and reflective time that I don't think we'll ever live through again.
I hope not.
Yeah, I was gonna say me too. Because I mean, it was. I mean, I guess it's something that we can, build experience and wisdom from, and tell people who weren't alive during it like how it was. It's kind of like any other thing that's happened in your lifetime. You're like, man, the JFK assassination or the man landing on the moon. Like I was there for that. You can tell experiences to pass down to, future generations. But it's just like, especially in the travel industry, I'm assuming it was just like so much chaos to cut through to, help the people who are just trying to reset and book a vacation and have an experience with their family or by themselves, just have an experience in general. To come out on the other side of that is kudos to you, because I'm sure there's a lot of folks in your industry specifically who just didn't make it out the other side.
Yeah, and I'm really thankful to my agents. It was a really tough time. They're not getting paid. They're doing more work than they normally do to make nothing. And, they have clients that are booked whose trips are canceled, this next chunk of cruises was canceled. This destination's still not opening, whatever it is. They're rescheduling everything, rebooking everything they've already spent all the time to book, only to possibly have to cancel that again and to do it multiple times. And we don't ever get paid until someone actually travels. So with the exception of those first few months where some of the suppliers were still paying us for things that had been booked, then those agents were working for nothing, working harder than they normally have to work for no pay.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's insane. Well, it's so good to see that you've made it on the other side of it. And I have a lot of amazing hopes, especially as baby boomers, like get into that retirement age. They want to travel and experience life. Like good for them. They've worked so hard. Like I think it'd be very fruitful for you, as the baby boomers start to retire and get to have more time to do these experiences.
Yeah,
like I'm always pushing my mom, like you need to do this, you need to do that. Like enjoy your life. You work so hard your whole life as a single mom. Like go out there and experience. And I want to go with her, to be honest. But like even if I don't, like she needs to go out there and experience just so many great things that the world. I mean, to do it a cruise. Not many people who haven't done a cruise before even know how amazing that experience is. Like you were just painting that picture perfectly for Andrew and myself. I'm like, dude, I want to go on that. It's like food, exercise, travel. That sounds amazing. I don't have to worry about like where I'm going.
Yeah.
Let's do
Great
it.
views, amazing. I love exploring. So and you get on a cruise, you get to go to multiple different.
That's right.
I guess it depends on how you book it, but
explore all day, come back and have a nice meal at night, and a show or whatever in the evening, and then go to sleep in a comfortable bed and wake up and do it again.
For sure. Yeah, and like different experiences can be on any kind of cruises. You would know, like I know comedians even go on cruises a lot.
Yeah,
like,
they do. Yeah,
it's a big thing for comedians.
They
and
do.
That'd be cool to just be on a 4-day cruise or whatever, however long, a week-long cruise, and just. You're on the same boat as this celebrity or this person. Like that's interesting too.
It's true. There are a lot of fan cruises out there.
I know you've been studying Walt Disney recently. Tell us, like, and maybe both of us don't know, but I know you've been studying him, and like he has quite a story, Walt Disney, and how he started everything. Like I watched a documentary about him years ago. I remember it was on Netflix or something like that. But think about if he never succeeded, like
how different everything would be. Yeah.
In a lot of ways, no, for sure. I mean, just in regards to like business and entrepreneurial stuff, Walt Disney, in his first animation company that he was starting called Laugh-O-Gram, it was in Kansas City actually. He basically put all of his money on the line. He had like a few people that were working with him. One of them was I don't know how to say his name, but I can't remember how to say his last name, but they were like staying with him even though he wasn't paying them.
Right.
And he was and eventually they had to like, hey, we gotta go. Like, and then he ended up being homeless. And he literally, in the time that he was homeless on the streets, he thought maybe I'm too late to get into the animation industry. And it's just funny hearing that coming from Walt Disney, who basically not invented it, but reinvented and made it what it is, made it something new, made it something better than it was. Even him thought he was too late to get in that industry, which is a lot of people have those as like getting into a new business or, maybe starting a podcast. You're like, am I too late to get into podcasting? It's like, a lot of people will think that, it's like, like just it's such an inspirational story. I think that to see someone who was so influential on the world thinking he was too late to get into the industry, that he basically made it to what it was.
Revolutionized. Yeah.
This is the fun anecdote, fun story.
That is.
It's insane. Well, what would you tell somebody, maybe it's me and Andrew, but who's on the fence about going on a cruise for the first time ever? They've been maybe doing some minimal research, but just like thinking about it, and maybe they're interested in Disney.
Yeah.
What's the one thing you can tell them right now that kind of get them like super jazzed and just like, all right, I'm ready to book to.
I do think there's a cruise out there for everyone. And there are different cruise lines specialize in different things. There's adult only cruises. There's fan cruises at times. And there's Disney for people that love Disney. Although you don't have to love Disney to go on a Disney cruise. You don't have to be part of a family. There's adult only sections of the cruise, areas of the cruise and whatnot. I do believe there's one out there for everybody, but there's so many different itineraries to choose from. Do you want to go just hang out on the beach and, sail out of Florida and hang out and do most of beach, snorkel, things like that, or do you want to go to Europe and see a whole bunch of different places? Do you want to go to Singapore? Do you want to go to Australia and New Zealand? There's so many places of the world that are hard to get to that a cruise ship can take you.
Gosh, that sounds amazing. Yeah, dude, we got to do that for sure.
Yeah, I'm down. I'm actually already thinking of a plan. How can I save for this or something?
We're gonna call Tammy.
Yeah.
Tammy, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you so much for supporting our show. All this stuff around you is because of people like you who've just believed in us and supported us to be who we are in the community today. So again, thank you so much for really believing in what we do. And this is your camera right here. Where can we find you?
StorybookDestinations.com is our website, and our email is vacations@StorybookDestinations.com, and our phone number's on the website, and there's a quote form on there. There's a contact us form. Email us with any questions, and yeah, we would love to talk to you and help.
Awesome.
Yeah. Oh, sweet. This has been another fantastic episode, and we'll see you guys on the next one.